Dynamo, the famous magician, once performed a trick in South Africa with just an empty bucket. Here's what he did. He picked up a bucket, showed it to the crowd and the TV audience that it was empty. He then tilts the bucket downwards, shakes it, and a small fish comes out. The audience have the first "how did it do it" moment. Pointing it downwards, Dynamo then shakes the bucket even more, and as you can see, more and more fish come out. He then continues to shell out hundreds and hundreds of fishes and keeps doing this for more than 30 seconds and finally stops. Now as you can see here, the number of fish that came out was just mind-blowing, and you can easily figure out the fish quantity to be more than twice the size of that bucket. Most people who see this trick on their screens assume one of the two things. 1. The magician has some kind of supernatural powers. 2. How did he actually perform such a humanly impossible trick? Well, here's the secret. The quantity of fish that Dynamo brings out is just not possible with a single bucket. This also confirms that he uses more than one bucket to perform this trick. But even then, to produce that much quantity of fish, there's got to be some kind of mechanism inside the bucket. Let's see what's inside the bucket. There are two types of buckets used in fish production, and they are all gimmick buckets. The first empty bucket was used for the single fish production, and the next few for large fish production. The second and third bucket can hold around 60 to 70 fishes each. To produce the single fish, the bucket used is two-layered and designed in such a way that it can hold 3 to 4 fishes. And there is also a flap inside which creates a small pocket in the bucket through which the single fish is released when Dynamo shakes it for the first time. When the bucket is brought upright, the pocket closes. After producing that single fish, Dynamo waits for a moment and keeps on producing fishes for quite some time. Now if you see carefully, there are quite a few camera cuts and angle changes involved in the footage, and it is during these camera cuts that the gimmick buckets are exchanged. Here's how the large fish production was performed. The bucket used here has a mirror placed at a fixed angle, and the fishes are placed behind that mirror. The angle of mirror is such that it reflects back the surface of the bucket onto the mirror. This creates the illusion that the bucket is indeed empty. The mirror also has a movable flap door attached at its bottom, and it's through this flap door that fishes are released one by one at a speed. Now when Dynamo shakes the bucket, the flap door, which has a hinge, opens and closes at a quick speed for every fish released. Also, to prevent the fish from getting out from the sides of the flap, they are placed inside a plastic bag so that it gets out only from the back of the mirror. The flap also has a cutting at its corner for its smooth movement, and this is how it actually works. In between another camera cut or angle change, Dynamo exchanges the third bucket with a similar mechanism to produce even more fishes. Here the illusion created is such that the TV audience gets to see lots and lots of fishes produced using only a single empty bucket. So this is how the trick was performed. Now there must be questions in your mind as to how come the audience present there not notice the buckets being exchanged. Here you can only assume that the whole setup was a pre-planned with most of the audience members being aware of it, as this trick was just performed once by Dynamo, and till date it was never performed again. Hope you got the explanation. At number 4, Darcy Oak's cage illusion. If you know Darcy Oak, you might very well remember his famous dove illusion, which he performed in one of the Britain's Got Talent shows. In his magic trick, what he did with those birds was just amazing. But there was a tricky part where he pulled out a cage from nowhere. And even more so, he converted that cage with a bird inside into its exact replica. So you must be curious to know the secret behind this trick. Then here's the actual secret. The thing you see in his hand is actually a flash paper, which is used to create quick flash of fire to hide out the quick moments. Also, if you look closely, you'll see that he positions his right hand at his back for a while, and during this moment that he hides the folding case somewhere inside his right hand sleeve. Now using the momentum of the quick flash fire, he brings out the folding cage and instantaneously transforms it into a bigger size cage. The bird then moves inside the cage, and then Darcy Oak brings out an exact replica of that cage with a bird inside. For this part of the trick also, he brings out a folding cage from his back and using a quick flash fire, transforms it into a bigger one and creates an illusion that shocks everyone. Now you must be thinking how come the second bird appear inside the cage. For this he uses a folding cage with a bird already fitted inside it, as you can see here. And that bird you see is a fake one and not real, which you can make out by observing carefully that it never moves. So this is how exactly the cage illusion was performed. At number 3, hand through glass trick. Cyril Takayama, the well-known magician, once performed a trick where he puts his hand through the glass aquarium and pulls out a necklace. Everyone present there was shocked, as the glass was still intact, and how come this trick fooled their eyes? Well, the secret to it is quite simple. There is a circular hole in the glass, and it's cleverly positioned inside the grey compartment you can see below the aquarium. This is how the mechanism looks like. There's a piece of glass inside the aquarium that's embedded at the bottom grey compartment. In this compartment, a piece of glass conceals a small hole so that the water does not leak out from it. Also, the aquarium is designed in such a way that the whole glass is actually movable. So when the magician starts performing the trick, here's what happens. At first, when we see the glass on the spot where the magician puts his hand through, the whole glass is positioned in such a way that the hole is under the bottom grey compartment. Now if you see carefully, Takayama first puts a piece of paper at the bottom of the aquarium because that's where the circular piece of the glass will emerge from. Now what happens here is that the entire piece of the rectangular glass moves upward, thereby revealing the hole concealed by a circular piece of glass. Also, this is why the magician uses a piece of paper, so that our vision is blocked when the glass is moved and the hole comes right under his hand. Takayama then uses his fingers to push the circular piece of glass upwards to reveal the hole. He then sticks his hand through that hole, picks up the necklace and pulls it out through the aquarium. Finally, watch as he pushes the glass down to conceal the hole again. And using this mechanism built inside the aquarium, the entire glass is slid down. So this is how he fools everyone. At number 2, David Blaine vomit frogs. We all have seen fear factor shows in which people put all sorts of insects, spiders and even frogs inside their mouth. But this trick is one notch higher. And if you're David Blaine, the man who's been buried alive, submerged in ice for days, and most famously suspended above London in a glass box for 44 days with absolutely no food, then there's got to be some extreme stuff. The magician once performed a trick in which he appears to vomit live frogs out of his mouth, and even after everyone sees that his mouth is completely empty, he just keeps on producing new frogs. So how did he do such an insane act? Now most of the stuff David performs has got to do with endurance and skills rather than manipulation and stuff. So the only secret here has got to be lots of practice and extreme endurance. And before the filming began, David had to actually swallow all these frogs, hold them in his stomach's esophagus before releasing them. Now you must be wondering, how is it possible? This performance was inspired by an earlier act by the famous 1930s regurgitator Haji Ali. So it's all about mastery and gaining control on his stomach muscles. And this is exactly what David practiced for almost 6 months before shocking us all with his superhuman ability. Now finally, the number 1 magic trick in our list, Ghost Girl trick. Josephine Lee, the beautiful contestant magician on Britain's Got Talent show, in a performance showed quite a few tricks, but the part of the trick where she displays a ghost girl really stood out. Here you can see only her legs while her upper body is totally invisible. So can you make out how did Josephine perform this trick? Well, here's the secret and it's quite obvious. The ghost girl you see is actually Josephine's assistant, who has bent her body with hands inside the table. Also, the part of the body just above her hips is actually a special mannequin-like dress created using baggy cloths and few other items. And that's the reason she walked away resembling a ghost. So guys, hope you got the secrets behind some of the greatest magic tricks. Also, let